So now we can start with the external facade, like the other two clusters, but other types of external facade for the coffee cluster. So countries from the coffee cluster, pay attention, please.
Okay. The coffee cluster is perfect in the middle of the site, so there is nothing else to say about it. It's quite near to Cascina Triulza, as on his left there is a cocoa cluster, and in front there is a fruit and legume cluster and spice cluster. These are the main dimension. I don't stress you on the numbers, I go ahead because we are strict in time. This is the general plan of the cluster. You can see on the decumanus we have a landscape exhibition area with greenhouses with big photos from Salgado on the production of the coffee. Then we have a big part inside the pavilion where we have a station. The first one is about the coffee transportation. The second one about the transformation of the coffee, so the roasting. And then the next one is the Ili bar and the market and an exhibition area, but in more detail we present this in next presentation. I go to your customization, so the name on your facade. You can see this is the position of the name on your facade, so they are completely inside the cluster in the common area facing the exhibition. And this is an example as the other cluster. You can see the name in Italian in bigger, then the name in the language of the country, and you can choose among your language, and then the flag. I leave the floor to my colleague from Politecnico di Milano that developed the three concepts in the Coffee International, Cluster International Workshop in 2012, and then with Facoltà di Architettura e di Urbanismo di San Paolo. And then they finalized the design with us and Fiera Milano, and they go deeper in the elements of exhibition.
Well, good morning. I'm afraid it's more lunchtime than coffee time, but with coffee we'll be more attentive and faster, so we can quickly go to the lunchtime. Don't worry. So we have been very, very glad to work on this cluster with my colleague Stefan Fitz and some of the people that have contributed to the workshop. As you know, maybe some of you are familiar with our concept. The concept is coffee in the forest because we were very, very astonished discovering that in many countries coffee is cultivated under the rainforest, so under the trees, with this kind of particular environment, with this kind of light that is filtrated by the top tree. Here you have a first image of the entrance of the cluster from the decumanus, so from the main way of the Expo. And working on this project, we worked very well with Ili and then with the Bocconi University, having a very good matching of our project with the contents and with the idea about coffee. So we would like to introduce you to this structure of the cluster. You see with the dot, with the red dot, we have the main station of this journey that we are proposing. Is a journey about the culture of coffee, but it's a real journey that people can have, following the journey of the coffee from the plant to the transportation to the transformation on coffee, and finally of the tasting and selling of the material. Here we can have some suggestion about the material we have used, that is mainly made by panels made by wood. This is the connection with the forest, and so with the color and the material of the forest. And of course, with this kind of environments, we can have a very special space inside the cluster. It's a space that is intimate, that is very interesting, and also it's very comfortable, as it is a covered space, so it's a dry space that is very good for the exhibition. And then we have also another very important point that are colors. Colors is also an element of another project we have designed during the workshop. The colors that are from green to red to yellow to brown is the element that design the floor of this cluster. And vegetation, so the plant of coffee is also one of the main characteristics of this cluster. In fact, in the front, along the Deco House, we will have some greenhouses where real plant of coffee will be displayed, because especially in Western countries, especially in our countries, people are not aware about coffee plants. We don't know really how is a coffee plant, from where coffee is coming. One of the biggest point of interest of our exhibition is the exhibition of the picture of Sebastian Salgado. That is a very important photographer that gives us his outlook about people, about countries, about the world of coffee. And he gives us these opportunities to have the Salgado history by pictures along all the cluster. We was talking about a journey. The journey is starting from the country that are producing coffee. So the first station of our journey is about the transportation of coffee, the shipping area, we call it. So you can see there is a big greenhouse with a real plant of coffee inside, a globe, an inflatable globe, where the route of coffee from the producer, from the countries to the other countries are signed, and this big wall made by containers that symbolize the shipping of the coffee. Some of these containers will have also some multimedia screen. Here are some other details, some suggestions about this space, very amazing, we think. Something is not working. Okay. Then when coffee is arriving in the countries, we will have the transformation of the coffee. So we are privileged to have a toasting area. You see this journey is like a synesthetic journey, so we will have all our senses involved, and we will have the flavor or real coffee roasted in the space, and we will have, you see all the colors of the roasted coffee on the wall, and on the opposite wall some information, some multimedia information about the data, the characteristics, all the elements about coffee. And with our colleagues of Bocconi University, we have studied all these elements of coffee. You see another suggestion of this. And after transformation of coffee, finally we can taste the flavor of coffee, the real taste of coffee, and then we will have a big area, a big bar area where people can taste the real coffee. We will have also an exposition, you see on the upper picture, an exposition of coffee machine that can give you the idea of the transformation also of the technology with the coffee machine. You see here the bar area. That is in any case under this canopy, this roof made by wood. And the last station is about market. We have designed this space that is near the bar to invite people to buy, to purchase coffee, like in a real market coffee coming from the world. But you know, coffee is also a very good food for the mind. So we can't have in a space like that an event space. So we have designed also a theater that is at the end of this long journey, as you see, where people can stay, where people can meet, can talk together, but they will have also here a lot of events, speech, concert, and so on. You will have a big double-face screen on the stage, so people can enjoy staying in the theater, but also walking around the coffee cluster. So this is briefly the idea of our coffee cluster, and then I think that our friend Ovilli can give us some suggestion, and we will have a very interesting video to show you. Thank you.
Good morning. Good afternoon, we should say now. I'm happy to be here again. We hosted the first meeting of the coffee cluster in Trieste a few months ago, and it's a great opportunity to give us a reciprocal update about what we are doing. And also, I'm happy to give a contribution to help answer the question, where are the companies, where are the firms? Here we are, and to explain what we are doing together with the Expo and with the partner countries. I don't want to talk too long about the presentation, which is part of the documentation. Of course, I would like to go through it quickly, because I would like to just to convey a couple of key messages that we can share together and that can explain the rationale of the efforts we are making. You are very much familiar with coffee, the most of you are, so we don't need to spend too much time about that. We all know that the coffee, there are two varieties of coffee, the Coffea arabica and Coffea canephora, better known as Robusta. Of course, there is a difference in the quality. The first one is the premium quality, the second one is mainstream quality, and of course there are differences in the techniques of cultivation and of course in pricing. The harvesting is a very important part of coffee cultivation, because it calls for real respect of what nature can convey to the man. So the harvesting is a very important part, and everything which is following the harvesting is very important. This is not only a business or a growing activity. This is really a cultural activity, And there are some artists like Sebastião Salgado, the very famous, one of the most famous photographers in the world, has depicted and go on depicting with his masterpiece, which will be a fundamental part of our cluster along the main road, the decumano of the cluster, of the Expo site. Our cluster will be represented by some huge, fantastic pictures of Sebastião Salgado. They will be the biggest pictures that Salgado has never realized. So I think that they will be very impressive, and that they will give a very good idea, very representative idea of what the world of the coffee growers is. During this journey, of course, there is the after harvesting, the part of the shipping, which is very important in the coffee world, because we all know that the coffee is drunk mostly in countries which are different from the ones where coffee is grown, which is a peculiarity that not many products have in the world. The second part of the cluster will be devoted to the industrial process, so the coffee roasting, which is a key part of the coffee industry. I would say a key part of the know-how of every coffee player, but it can be also an very interesting experience for the visitor, because rarely we enter a coffee roasting plant, so it will be a very important part of the cluster. We will use this area, the area of the industry side, the area of coffee roasting, also as a way to communicate the very important notions that surround the coffee. So it will be also a cultural experience, an educational experience, and not only a show or a displaying part. Of course, the site, the Expo site, the cluster will be completed by a commercial area where we can have a real coffee tasting experience and buying products, of course, because there is also a business part in the activity of the Expo. But again, it will be a way to get the visitors in contact with the destination of the final destination, I would say, of the process, which starts with the seed. In this area, we will also have a shopping area dedicated to the coffee products of the countries which will be hosted in the coffee cluster, and this will be another very important way to connect the activity that you are going to do in your pavilions together with the activity of the common area. This is something I would like to underline, because it is very important that by working together under the coordination of the Expo, we are able to create a common thread between the national pavilions, which are hosted inside the coffee cluster, and the common areas of the cluster, in order for the visitor to have a real experience on that. I think that through the rendering, I hope that through the rendering that we saw before, we have been able to convey what I think is the key message of that. The coffee cluster is not meant to be a pavilion. It will be a journey. It is not meant to be a building. It will be a bridge. It will be a bridge between the different parts of the products, again, from the seed to the cup, letting the visitor to discover this fantastic journey between the first end of the cultivation and the final end of the simple act of drinking a coffee in a very small Italian cup. Sometimes we know that simplicity can be revolutionary, and the very moment of letting the visitors mainly European and Western visitors, to see the real plant of coffee, which is a simple daily experience for all the people that your countries represent, and this will be revolutionary for the Western visitors who are very much used to this very simple act of drinking a coffee, but they don't know anything of what comes before, starting from the plant and going through the great process which follows the cultivation. It will be a bridge between the past, the history of coffee, the present of coffee, and the future of coffee, how the world of coffee in cultivation and in the market is changing. There are many, many changes underway, but at the same time, this is a world which represents and highlights the heritage that your country will always represent in the present and in the future. Finally, which is also the most important aspect, we want to create this bridge between the coffee growing countries and the coffee consuming countries. This is a fantastic product. We all know that, but very often people who work on coffee growing don't know enough about what is following, and very often the people who drink coffee don't know enough of what comes before. If we are able to create this bridge during this journey, which is a knowledge bridge, which is a cultural bridge, which is an educational bridge and experience, if we are able to do that and create this common gathering, not only will we create a great experience for our visitors and also for the business which goes along, but we will really set the basis for a human experience and establish a long-lasting relationship between the world of coffee growing and the world of coffee consumption. And this kind of relationship, we think it is as the basis of our business, it is as the basis of your activity, and it is also the great achievement and the great aim that we can set for ourselves. Thank you very much.
We have heard from the architects, we heard from Illy, and then we heard from the Bocconi University.
Good morning. My name is Chiara Mauri, and as Professor Colombo was saying, the work of Politecnico, the frame of Politecnico has been the frame that we have been using to create the content of the coffee cluster. I will summarize briefly a huge amount of information just with the first slide that tells a lot about what coffee is. So coffee is the source of life, of business for many, many people, and most of them are small farmers. So that, as Lily was saying before, the idea is to cover the bridge between the seed and the consumer after the cup. So the journey, the coffee journey, goes from the production to the consumer experience, not just the cup, but the consumer. Coffee is a product, is an experience of all the world. I don't even read this number, which is huge. I can tell that 50% of the people drink coffee, 50% of the people of the world. And each year, every single individual drinks 136 cups. Another interesting news is that coffee consumption is growing, has been growing and is growing, and it's forecasted to grow. In terms of cup, more and more people reason in terms of cup rather than in terms of liters or grams. And coffee pots have shifted the attention to the cups instead to the liters. Anyway, what is interesting is that coffee is growing. rather healthy. It's growing rather fine, and it keeps on growing until we don't know, but until 2017. Western Europe is at the top, but Latin America is closing the gap, and all the other continents are growing. We were trying to understand why coffee consumption is growing, and we discovered that it is strongly related to income. Strongly means very strongly. And when income increases, coffee consumption increases. And in all the countries of the world. And we don't think that this increase is because people drink more coffee, more quantity, but probably better quality, more varieties. So we cross it two dimensions. One is income. Income gives the possibility to experience coffee, which is not drinking coffee. It's more related to tasting coffee, probably, than to drink coffee. So we are on the top of the Maslow, let's say, hierarchy of needs. It's not the basic needs. We are going into a more complex experience. So when income increases, people want to experience coffee. Could be American coffee, Italian coffee, Turkish coffee, coffee cream, whatever, but the experience that becomes better. Another good news is that the coffee market is highly fragmented, at least in terms of brand competition. So if we try to measure competition from 1 to 100. 1 is perfect monopoly, and 100 is perfect competition. We see that the coffee market is very competitive. That means the consumer can choose between many brands. Is not oligopolistic, neither monopolistic. Coffee is produced in areas, let's say, located around the equator. And then from there, coffee goes to travel in different places of the world, city ports, and then from there to the markets, not really to the market. For example, Germany is one of the countries that imports more coffee, but then they re-export coffee. So it's not the final destination. So we had to take care of all this journey and the money involved. This is the distribution of countries in terms of production. Brazil is at the top. This is not the distribution in terms of consumption. It's not the same, but countries which produce are also countries which consume. Then we looked at the not only the manufacturing, but the kind of risk of coffee farmers, risk due to many reasons. One is other meteor conditions, rather plague, but also the price are not stable. The prices of coffee are not stable, so this is create problems. And how can we face and I wouldn't say solve, but try to look at these problems? So we were looking at research, partnership, sustainability programs for a better future. I think this is the end. Thank you for listening, and we are open to questions.
Questions?
My name is Mulgeta Alamsagad Gasese. I am the head of delegation of Ethiopia. Where does coffee originate? This is an unanswered question in this conference. It cannot be Latin America because the Indians had not had any coffee plantation. We clearly know that. It cannot be Europe, the highest consumer, but it has not had any tree coffee tree at all. It cannot be Asia, because Asians are not known for coffee, they are more known for tea. Vietnam started coffee plantation very recently, even though it is the second largest producer. So it could only be Africa, which is the origin of coffee. Where in Africa then? Where in Africa does coffee originate? We say that the origin of coffee is in Ethiopia. Why do we say so? Number one, we have a natural forest of coffee, which doesn't exist anywhere. We have a natural coffee forest. Secondly, where we get this coffee forest, the name is Kaffa. So we say that coffee got its name from this area known as Kaffa. Thirdly, it is out of the coffee growing countries. It is Ethiopia that has traditional ceremony of coffee drinking. We have our own traditional roasting, grinding, and making coffee. And we drink 50% of what we produce. Almost every household drinks one's coffee. Even those areas that doesn't grow coffee, it's a compulsory to drink coffee in the morning. So we consume 50% of what we produce. And last but not least, I think we are the only country which has many varieties of coffee Arabica. We have very quality coffee growing in Ethiopia. Last but not least, again, recently it has been discovered that there is decaffeinated coffee which exists in this coffee forest. So I think we have strong arguments that the origin of coffee is Ethiopia. Thank you a lot.
And you have to show them inside your pavilion to tell a story to all the visitors about Ethiopian coffee. Yes. Other questions? Over there. Sorry, before the other question, the representative from Bocconi University, General Commission from Ethiopia. The representative for Bocconi University would like to add something about your comments on the Ethiopian coffee.
Just short. For each country, for each representative country, we have been looking for stories and traditions, rituals. So we will take care of all these specificities of the country. So we were saying that probably coffee was born in Ethiopia, and also mocha also is coming from. So for each country, we are looking for this kind of things to tell. So thank you very much, and we will work on that.
Thank you, Chair. My name is Mumtaz Kassam. I'm Deputy Commissioner General for Uganda. Ili mentioned that there will be common areas to sell coffee that each country is producing. Now, Ili has its own bar area also, and I presume they'll also be selling coffee from there. So how do we decide on the pricing of the coffees that other countries will be bringing. And many countries will bring roasted coffee. So, and considering that Ely actually sells coffee, which is a blend from several countries, how do we try and market the fact that Ely coffee is actually a blend of several countries? Which countries should be named if possible? Thank you.
So I can answer. In the commercial area that Architetto Colombo showed us before, there are two single areas. One is the area of the coffee bar, which will serve Ely coffee, and the other one is the commercial area of the cluster, where all the countries hosted in the cluster, but also the other coffee growing countries which are not part of the cluster, such as Brazil or Colombia, the other coffee producing countries, will bring, if they want, of course, their roasted coffee, which will be sold. So they are adjacent. The two parts of the commercial areas are in the same big area, but with separated micro areas. So everything will work well, in the sense that if all the countries want to bring to the Expo their roasted coffee and sell it, it is feasible, it is possible in the commercial area, close to the coffee bar area. I just would like to add, which related to that, and also to one part of the comment of the General Commission of Ethiopia, the fact that also the auditorium, so the public area, will be at the disposal of the different countries, also to host possible events and also shows related to the ritual of coffee. There is very much to know about every country's way to cultivate coffee, to harvest coffee, to treat coffee, to deal with coffee, to drink coffee. This part of different worldwide habits are a fundamental part of the general culture of coffee. And the auditorium that is there, it is meant to host also possible events related to the different way of living the great experience of coffee in the different countries.
No more questions? Yes.
Okay, thank you very much. I'm a member of the Ethiopian delegation. We have spoken about the photography event by Salgado. My suggestion is that, the photographs that will be taken by Salgado should show from origin to the table, from seat to table. So you have to focus also on this aspect, from origin to the table, from seat to table. Okay, thank you very much.
Yes, it's difficult to tell a great artist what to do and to impose the kind of pictures, in this case, that he should take. Sebastião Salgado is a great artist, and in his activity, he is constantly traveling through all the coffee-producing countries to recreate, I would say, the fantastic environment of growing coffee. It will be not a selection by country, because this is not relevant. It will be a selection linking the artistic value of his masterpieces and the real life of people living in the world of coffee. We will try to tell him that it will be really interesting that he works also in what follows the growing parts of the activity of coffee. We don't know, perhaps he will accept. This is a very good idea, but of course he's an artist, the artists that are very autonomous, rightly.
Okay, thank you very much for being here, for having listened to our stories, which are part of your stories, and good Expo to everyone.